I can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you now.
It looks like my network went off for a bit there. Sorry about that. So I was saying that I can see that there are about 7 people on the call. That is including Obianuju and her note taker. So I'm guessing there are about just 5 people on the call, which makes for like an easier conversation. We can all get to know each other, and then we can actually, rather than talk about this in such a way that it looks like, oh, it's a lecture, or it's a seminar, or it's like one of those boring things that nobody wants to attend, we can just make it conversational. So I will introduce myself, and I'll be glad if you guys can take turns to just maybe say 1 or 2 things about yourself before I just begin to go on. My name is Femi, Oluwafemi Siji-Kenneth. I work with Paystack as a product specialist. Before I joined Paystack, I worked with FarmCrowdy as a product manager, and also on the customer experience team, not customer support, no, CX team of Jumia. That is what I've done in tech. Prior to that, I worked on the radio for 6 years. I was a radio OAP with Echo FM for 2 years, and then with Rhythm for another 2 years. I have worked in consulting, and apart from that, I am also like an alumni of the University of Lagos, where I studied 2 degrees, first in political science, second in mass communication, and then I took a postgraduate degree with Nigerian University of Technology and Management. It's a new university. You guys might want to check it out. That's for any one of you who hasn't gotten a postgraduate degree yet. It's a new university. They are offering like a systematic structured learning that looks like the regular international MBA, and they offer scholarships, so you can apply just in case you want to do that. That's a brief profile about me. I don't know if you guys maybe want to take turns to just introduce yourself very quickly, maybe just 1 line or 2, your name, what you do. That's about enough. You can also just type it in the chat, so I can just go on if you maybe are having challenges with going first, because I know that it's usually like a problem for a lot of people to go first. So you can just type it in.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Hi, clearly.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Femi.
Good evening.
My name is Femi Oluwafemi Adeleke. Yeah, it's nice to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you.
I'm a student of university backend engineering. I finished from Yabatech SLT. Yeah, I think that's basic. That's just the basic. I don't really have much degrees yet, so that's just the basic.
It's fine. Thank you, Femi. Yeah. Does anybody else want to share before we go on? The rest of you can just type it in the chat in the interest of time. But does anybody else want to share before we go on? Just your name or something brief about you. Nobody? It's a shy crowd. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to go straight into it. So the topic I'm supposed to speak on is teamwork and collaboration, and the way that I'm thinking about it is I'm somebody who works in tech. A lot of people now are trying to make transition to tech. Some of you already work in tech, like Oluwafemi Adeleke, who is studying backend engineering with university. So I'm pretty sure you want to do stuff in tech. So rather than just talk about collaboration generally and teamwork generally as it applies to the general work environment, I would like to streamline it a little to how it applies in tech and why it's important and what you need to look out for in terms of your own personal characteristics as a person and other people's behaviors that will allow you to function very well in a team. So to just start, right? It is first important for you to understand that even though we have heard many times where they say, oh, there are different people and there are different people in terms of how they work, and I believe it very well as part of the things I'm going to touch on in the course of my speech, nobody can function to the optimal capacity outside the team. Nobody. You will be able to produce results, you can do stuff, but there will be moments in time when you need to rely on somebody. And so it can be in any kind of team. It could be, the regular team where everybody functions together in terms of input and work towards the same output. It could be a team where there's some form of interdependence where one person starts the work, then hands over to another person, and then the person continues and hands over. It could be another team where everybody just sort of works individually, but they are working towards a common result. So if you think about, say, a car manufacturing company, for instance, that's the kind of team that they operate in, where some people are working on, say, the tire parts, and other people are working on the engine, some people are working on the body parts, everybody functioning individually, but they're working towards the same goal, which is the car product that everybody can then assemble together. So it doesn't matter which kind of team you eventually end up in. At one point in your career, you are going to end up in a team. So it's important that you understand how a team is formulated, the stages that a team will go through for development, why it's important for you to be part of a team and to learn how to collaborate, and what results you can get from that. What is a team? This is stuff that we've most likely heard about in some of our social sciences class. And I hate school, even though I've gone to school multiple times. I hate school because I think that at the end of the day, more often than not, what they teach us is usually not relevant, especially considering the Nigerian, educational ecosystem. We don't have like very strong lecturers who have our best interest at heart. So they don't do a lot of research to come back to us with like much more updated stuff. We don't have like a very good like Ministry of Education that works on like curriculum and tries to build that. So at the end of the day, we are stuck with like old school development, which doesn't really help us. So really, I don't like school. But some of the things that were taught in school are still important. For instance, I learned teamwork back in school. I learned what a team means. And if I think about it, it's still relevant to my understanding of what a team is today. And a team really is just a bunch of people who come together to work together to achieve a common result. So that result could be in terms of a product that you want to go out. That result could be a project that you want to manage. That result could be a service. So if it's a service, if you think about a service where you still need teamwork, you probably are thinking about, say, think about firefighters, for instance. Firefighters offer a service to you, a service of helping secure your property from fire, from destruction by fire, to secure your life and property from destruction by fire. And you see a lot of these guys, they work together to make sure that they can render that service very well. While some people are working on rescuing people, another set of people are working on getting blankets, another set of people are working on getting the water, another set of people are laying the pipes, another set of people are running it. At the end of the day, they want to offer a singular service. And so that's how I think about a team. So you might want to take it down, just how you're thinking about a team. Now, not every group that you're going to find that work together actually qualify as a team. That's another thing that you want to look out for, right? So a team primarily is just a set of people who work together for that common goal. So you find groups, for instance, like a company, Paystack as an example, right? It's a company made up of different departments, different units. You can say at the end of the day that the company is working towards a common goal, which is to increase the revenue. And then if you think about the value of the company or the larger organization that Paystack belongs to, which is Stripe, to increase the GDP of the internet. But it is too vague a destination. So you cannot really call Paystack as a company a team. One, because there are too many people. Two, because there are too many individual functions. And three, at the end of the day, every individual or like the entire company have like different sub teams that are working on different goals, which doesn't make it qualify for a team, even though all of them are working together. But what will qualify for a team is where there's a singular goal, it is clear, you have the ambition, and you can work together towards it. And then you can then find like a sweet number, say between 5 and 12. That's usually what like the best composition for a team is. And then all of you can work together on that. Now, why is it important for you to learn how to work in a team? Like I mentioned before, it doesn't matter where you're going to find yourself. At the end of the day, you have to eventually work in a team. I'm sure that a lot of you guys probably have ambitions of probably owning an organization someday. You want to run your own tech startup. You want to apply to Y Combinator and get your product in there. And you want to, build something successful, maybe the next unicorn, the next Flutterwave. You probably heard 3.5 billion in valuation, and you want to build that kind of a company. For you to get there, you have to be able to work with a board, right? That board is a team, and you have to, learn how to collaborate with them. You have to learn how to work with your C-suite executives, the CEO, the CTO, the COO, and all of these guys that probably form the leadership group of your organization. That is a team. Or you want to work with maybe a group of maybe consultants for your pre-seed round that you want to raise funding for. You have to work with like a small set of people to just figure out, okay, what are the documents that we need to prepare, the investors need to look at. That is a team. If you have such ambition, even if it's not to own a company, even if it's just lead an organization, along that journey, you work with a team. And for you to be able to be successful, you need to learn how to function within a team. How do you do this? Because we don't have so much time. I can't begin to go on, and I know that you people have questions. But how do you, function that very well within a team? First, let's look at, the stages of of team development. Now, I would have drawn up a slide. I already prepared one, but there are a couple of things I wanted to change there. Timing, considering that I thought it was 5 o'clock, I couldn't change that. That's why I'm not using the slide. But I think I still have a couple of these things committed to memory, and I can just look at it as I go on. So if you have any questions, and maybe you think I've skipped something that is important to you, you can note it down and then ask me at the end of this little talk that I'm giving. So let's look at the stages that a team goes through for you to be able to call this thing a team. There are 5 stages in total, I believe. I'm not sure whether things have changed, but so far that I remember, there are 5 stages. Just give me 1 second. There's the forming stage. This is the stage where the team is sort of decided. So it could be that a manager, for instance, at an organization handpicks a few set of people with specific skills that they feel is going to be important to achieve that particular goal that they want to achieve. If I give you like an example, it could be that maybe you are trying to launch a product, and your organization says, oh, they task a particular team that you are in, say maybe you want to launch a fingerprint payment product where people can just maybe pay with their own fingerprints, and the organization, the management team says, oh, let me see one person that I can just call Onome, for instance. Say, Onome, go and select 6-7 people to come and work on this particular project, to come and brainstorm. And then you think about it and you say, okay, what are the elements that we need to make up this group? You jot down all of the different skills that you're going to need. So maybe you need somebody with data skills that can help you, crunch numbers and do maybe like revenue projection. The person wants to work with somebody in finance or treasury. You want to bring in somebody who's an engineer to give you like an engineer's perspective on what it's going to take to build. What is what kind of stack do you need? All of those things. You bring in somebody who's a product designer, somebody who can give you like just basic wireframes on how the particular product can look at the end of the day. Maybe you need somebody in marketing to tell you, oh, how do we sell such a product? What kind of go-to-market strategy will this kind of product need? You pull together that 6 set of people with diverse skills, and then they form a team. That is the forming stage. It could happen in that form. It could also be just organic, right? A few friends who met. I remember that I was reading the story of a particular company. I can't remember the name. I can remember the name. I just don't want to mention the name now. They went into an accelerator program with their own different ideas, right? And then when they got into the accelerator program, they realized that, okay, it looks like we aligned on certain issues. This person understands how to market a product in this particular field. This person understands how to market this. This person understands how to do this. Let's all drop our individual products that we're trying to develop and collaborate to work on a particular product. And that's how they became a team, and that's how their company started. And now their company is doing very well. I think that they've raised their Series A now, and they are formed. So it could be that organic. It doesn't matter how it's formed. Every team has to go through that forming stage. Now, at that forming stage, you as an individual want to be careful. If you are the one forming the team, for instance, you want to be careful with understanding. You want to do a lot of research, first of all, to understand what that particular team needs. You want to understand the goals that the particular team is trying to achieve, because you don't want to select people who don't have the skills to fit that particular team, because it's going to cause conflict. You know, you have like social loafing, where a couple of people will think, well, other people are going to do the job. I don't need to contribute so much. And at the end of the day, they won't contribute so much. And we'll have like an issue of social loafing where some people are just sleeping out, some people are doing all the work. There's going to be conflict. Or maybe their personality traits don't align, because some of these things are things that you also want to understand as well. It's important for you, even if you are not the one forming the team, to understand that these things are necessary at that stage to look out for, so that even you yourself can do some evaluation. For every individual, if you want to function in a team very well and you want to be able to collaborate, you must do some form of self-evaluation. You must understand your own personality traits. I don't know if anybody here has done like the MBTI test. I'm going to just type that in the box. I don't know if anybody has done this MBTI personality test. You can Google it. There are a couple of free tests online. It helps you, although it's not 100% accurate, but tests like this would help you to understand your own personality traits, and then you can use that when your team is forming to look out for, you know, complementary traits in other people that you want to pick to join your team, or that you want to work with, so that you can understand how you're going to work with them. If you're the one forming the team, it's important for you to do that research to understand what you need to achieve, so that you can then know the skills that you need for that team, and then you can also know the what's it called, the I beg your pardon, the personality traits that are required for that team to function. Once you have been able to gather that team and you have formed that team, the next stage you want to go on to is the give me a second. I wrote it down, so I'm just trying to pull it out. Okay, so the storming stage. Now, the storming stage is, you know, the stage where everybody begins to like brainstorm like different things in the team. How we're going to respond to issues, how we're going to like you know, define goals, how we're going to go through a conflict period, who's going to do what. That is the storming stage. Okay, how do we achieve this? Who do we hand this responsibility to? At that stage, you also want to be careful to understand, because you already know the skills, you already know the different personality types. You also want to be careful to assign properly, or to, you know, assign like responsibilities based on individual strengths that you understand. You as an individual, if you're not the one assigning this thing, because you already understand yourself, you've already gone through you've already gone through some self-reflection to understand the kind of person that you are. You know your skills, you have evaluated them. You want to present those so that you don't get caught up in something that you cannot deliver on, or something that you cannot do. So you want to be, because you already know yourself, you want to, you know, speak with your teammates to say, hey, this is XYZ that I can do. These are the skills that I possess. For instance, if you're the kind of person who is very good at sales and marketing, you want to quickly tell your team that, hey, even though you may not be from the sales department, because you have some people who are engineers who are good with sales, within that team that you're working, within the team of engineers that you're working in, you want to quickly bring yourself forward to say, hey, I'm good with XYZ. I can provide perspectives on that, or whatever responsibilities around this team that is in that line, you can do it. All of those things happen at the storming stage. Then when we're done, we go to the norming stage. The norming stage is where, you know, there's a cultural thing. People get to know each other. People get to build culture. People get to build values. You see organizations where they tell you these are our values. That is because they've been able to norm together. Now everybody, let's assume the team value has become that, people should be able to freely speak. We have not gotten to a stage where people are now getting comfortable to come out and talk, share their own ideas. That is the norming stage. That is the stage that people begin to collaborate, and you want to be careful to allow for people to then express themselves properly at this particular stage, so that you can identify what should be an underlying value of that particular team. When you pass through that stage, I mean, these things are things that you can Google. Maybe I'm going to finish off the slides and then share with you guys after I'm done, but there are stuff that you can Google, and then you can learn more about it. I don't want to go too deep into it because there's a couple of things I want to cover. I just want to share all of these stages so you understand. If you are in a particular stage in a team and it looks like, oh, things are not working, it might just be that you have not gotten to a norming stage yet, or you have not gotten to a performing stage yet. But if you understand how teams are formed and all the stages of team development, then it will be easy for you to adjust quickly to your current situation because you understand where it sort of fits in. That's why I'm going through all of this. So you go through the norming stage, you build team values, you do all of those things. And then you go to the performing stage where you get to work and then everybody just begins to function. If you have been able to build a good norm at that time where everybody has cohesively built the team values, you now understand the culture, you understand every different individual's ability, who is supposed to lead a project, who is the person who is the routine type person, who is the big picture thinker, who is the shy person, who is the, you already understand how the team works. You can then go into the performing stage. At this stage is where you get to do the work that the team is meant to do. You get to work, you deliver results and all that. And then when you're done, there's now a termination or like an ending stage when you're done with whatever it is you want to do and then you want to go your separate ways or you want to go on to another project. You then end or terminate a particular team if the team needs to be terminated and you move on. I don't know if anybody has any questions on this before I proceed to the next thing I want to talk about. You can just type it in the chat and I'm going to respond. Any questions?
Thank you so much, sir, Mr. Femi. I've learned a lot. And the question I have is, at times, while working as a team, and maybe, for instance, you said we have the forming stage, the storming stage, and norming stage before. So I'm talking about maybe the storming stage. That is the stage whereby they kind of try to assign tasks, and maybe right there in the team, and tasks have been assigned. You now realize that the task they actually gave you, fine, you could work with that. Is still related to your skill, and you also realize that, but there's a task they assigned to someone else that you feel you can do better. Maybe during the introductory stage, for instance, if during the introductory stage, I actually said, okay, this is what I could do, but and I realized that after sharing the task, I realized that there's something else I would have said that, I could also do that actually being assigned to some other persons. And I kind of feel like I can actually do this better. How do we manage that kind of situation so that it doesn't kind of culminate to crisis, as in bring about discrepancies in a team? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I was going to get to that. That is in conflict management within a team, because it doesn't matter how cohesive a team is. It doesn't matter how closely knit or interdependent a team is. It's almost always guaranteed that there will be conflict. And so you need to know moments where to manage conflict. What you just described now is just a moment of conflict where there are two different responsibilities that you feel like you can handle. You had already initially opted to handle one, but then you realize that there was something else that you're better suited for. That's probably gone to somebody else, and then you want to, you don't know how you're going to handle that. That's just a conflict situation. So we'll get to how you are going to manage. But just to answer your question very quickly, first of all, you need to note that it's not always in every instance that you're within a team that you get to be in a role that is best suited for you, right? And that is because there are instances within a team where everybody has the same set of skills. Think about a group of footballers, for instance. That's a team of like Chelsea or Real Madrid. There'll be instances where you would have like multiple people with the same set of skills, and they can't always, or people would even have like multiple different skills. So think about Lionel Messi, for instance, as an example. If you like him, it's fine. I'm not here to say, oh, he's better than anybody else or anything, because I know that this is a very touchy subject for a lot of people. But if you think about Lionel Messi, for instance, as an example, he can function as a striker, as a winger, as a midfielder, as an attacking forward. He can function in all of these forward roles, but he cannot be the striker and the midfielder and the winger at the same time. He has to function somewhere else. So there are instances where, for the benefit of the team, right, you may be relegated to positions that are not immediately your best positions. What you need to think about is the bigger objective in that moment. What is the big, because like I mentioned from the outset, a team exists to achieve specific objectives, right? That's why you exist. So you don't exist because Onome wants to achieve Onome's goals. If that is it, that's not a team. That's just everybody working for you as an individual, but they're just working, like, that's not really a team. In a team, what Obianuju wants to achieve is the same thing Oluwafemi wants to achieve, is the same thing Shegun wants to achieve, the same thing Anthony wants to achieve, the same thing Onome wants to achieve. So if you keep that in mind, you would be willing to forego certain things that, because at the end of the day, it will still achieve the best interest of the team. But in moments when you know that you are the best capable, if during your storming, your norming stage, you guys have understood each other very well, you understand, each different person's personality, based on the personality of whomever it is that is leading the team, you can bring it forward to say, hey, I have X skills, and I think that I'm better at that. Although this is the task I'm currently giving, this is where I'm supposed to sort of function. But because I have XYZ skills, and I think I can better perform there, I can produce results. And then you can tell them, maybe if they can switch, you fine. If they can't, you still have to manage, because at the end of the day, you have the opportunity. But a better approach would be to just do the work that is required while you're doing your own. If you can find the time, just do the work that is required to show that you can actually do the thing, and then go with proof of work to say, hey, I know that you give me X tasks. I added Y task to myself, even though I know somebody else was handling it, but because I know I can do it better, I had added that task to myself, and I went on to do it, and this is the result. So please let me carry it on. That way, I think that a lot more people who are smart, who are responsible and reasonable, when they see the proof of work, and they know that everybody's working in the best interest of the team anyway, they're much more likely to let you have whatever it is you have. So think about just showing proof of work rather than just going to make statements or make requests, when you don't really have anything to show in hand. Because a lot of us will talk about the things that we can do, but at the end of the day, you realize that when it gets to actually doing it, you really can perform. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I guess maybe when I get to the conflict management time, if time permits, I will respond to that. After you have developed your team, you want to then go into collaboration. How do you collaborate within the team? Even in moments where you know all your personality traits within the team, and it's very important that you actually try and do some of these personality tests, because what they're going to do for you is help you understand how different people operate. Like, one major problem that we have in Africa, and I'm glad that some of the new companies I work in, like I say, like I work in like one of the best companies in Africa, because the leadership team, they're so, like, they've been able to build like a very strong culture. But that's what was pervasive in Nigeria. One of the things that have affected us in Nigeria is that we usually approach work as though everybody is the same, everybody functions the same way. But understanding personality traits allows for you to know how to collaborate, because you realize that everybody doesn't function in the same way. While some people are best at working alone, some people are not. Some people work best in groups. Even though you're functioning within the team, you realize that some people, they want to come to the team when they have like maybe results, and then go back into their silos to do whatever, except for instances where all of you need to make the input at the same time. But because you already understand this person's personality traits, you want to give them room to allow them to work on their own and then come back. So if you, for best collaboration, my own personal advice, or my go-to, what has worked for me in my own job, is to take my time to understand the personality traits of the next person. So instances where I don't have information on their personality test results, and from working with them, or from sort of in that norming stage where I'm trying to understand them, where I'm asking them questions, where I'm getting to know who they are, I pick up on their personality and use that in then approaching my conversations with them, or approaching work with them. A good example is this. Last month or 2 months ago, I was like 1.5 months ago, I was given a project in my company, where 3 that were supposed to sort of handle the project together. So I was supposed to lead the project. The remaining 2 guys were supposed to just work. I was working with an engineer and a product designer. And we're supposed to sort of revamp the onboarding process for some work that we're doing. Anyway, I don't need to go into all of the details. The person who was the product designer he thinks by talking. There are people like that who, they get ideas on the spot, right? Initially, when we first started the project, I realized that almost every time we just text me up on Slack and say, "Oh, Femi, how far? Can we huddle for a minute?" We will text the other person that we're working together, the engineer, "Oh, can you huddle for a minute?" And then we go into a huddle, and then we spend 1 hour, 2 hours, and this guy just keeps talking and talking and talking. And I mean, I've been talking for how long? You guys have been listening. I know that talking for long is stressful. And this guy just, I'm already sweating, even as I've been talking like this. But this guy just goes on and he talks and talks and talks, and he can get draining. And I have work to get into. The engineer also has work to get into. It can be sickening. So initially, when we started, it was frustrating. But then I went to his own team of product designers to ask from his teammates, like, how does this guy work? When does he get the time to do his work? Because we need to proceed. After asking a few questions, I realized that, because I had already even noticed it, that whenever he's talking, it's almost as if he has eureka moments in those periods when he's talking. So if he's saying something, he just stops and says, oh, okay, this makes sense. And to my mind, is like, did you think about this? Like, you are the one that called us to talk. You should have thought about these things. But then when I asked his teammates, they all confirmed that this guy hardly on his own thinks about ideas. Where he gets the best ideas is where he has somebody to bounce off his thoughts with, which is the reason why he calls all of us together to say, hey, you guys, what do you guys think about this? You know, I was thinking, he hasn't even thought about it before. I was thinking, oh, if we place this here, this is going to work this way. And the engineer is going, man, I need to just get to my work. So what I'm trying to say here is, when I realized that this guy thinks as he talks, we set aside a special time for him, right? We called it the Project X, the project I'm working on, and working hours, right? So whenever he has anything to discuss, he uses the working hour slot. He just lets us know, oh, he's going to be logging on during the working hours. And so we know that, okay, we should quickly do what we have to do before that working hours, so that we can allow him to have his time to brainstorm with us, because that's when he's going to be able to produce his best work. We go into that and then we work. What I'm trying to say here is, the only way we could collaborate with such a person who spends hours talking is to recognize that this person thinks while talking, and that is different from how we do the thinking. So why I would like to plug my ears and listen to music in my own solo world and not talk to anybody, I know now that for me to be able to achieve that result, I have to give my teammate his own room to be able to be himself. And the only way I can do that is by understanding who they are. So I would then implore you that the best way to collaborate, which you're going to need, because you're going to get into a place where you find different characteristics of people. And I'll also talk about how to manage conflict with certain kinds of people who, you know, it looks like you probably can work together. There's a particular paper that I would also package and share with you. The title of it is, I think it's when I was doing one program, like somewhere they shared it with us. The title of that program is the title of that paper is The Team That Never Was. So maybe you can read it to understand how sometimes little differences, and when you don't understand how different people operate, it can just kill a team, even the team of superstars, right? This team I'm talking about has people who have like 15 years experience being COOs in like some top organization, and still they couldn't work together, you know, to produce any result. The team failed. But if you understand the differences between each other, you can work together better. So take your time. That's the only thing I can even give you on collaboration. Take your time to study the people you're working with. When you realize the differences between you and them, or the similarities, exploit that. That is how you're going to be able to, you know, produce the best results and collaborate. Now, there will be instances where you get into teams where there are people there that are unbearable. There are people there who just don't want to collaborate. They could be exceptional individuals too, right? But they don't know how to collaborate. I wish I had shared that paper before this talk, so you would understand what I'm trying to say, but I will still share it. I'll share it with Florence or with the admin of this, the organizers, and then share it with you. If you don't, if you know, there are people like that who don't want to collaborate. So how do you function in such a team when you find people who are, you know, foolhardy, or like people who are no, that's not what I was looking for. People who are like self-obsessed, or people who are like proud, or people who are rude. What you want cynical. Yeah. So what you want to do first is to understand why they are that way, because there are instances where team dynamics pushes us to behave in certain ways that that don't align with our original characteristics. It is the same reason why sometimes you realize that maybe your mom in the house would always call you lazy, but at the office you are the best performer. And so you wonder why your mom cannot just see that you're the kind of person who performs well. It might just be that in the house, you switch to a different mode because maybe you have like maybe you have like servants, like housemaids or butlers or people, you grew up on those things. And so at home, you don't see the need for you to get up and wash the dishes. But originally, you're a high flyer, the kind of person who likes to see results. But you think about results only in a strategic meeting. That is the function of group dynamics. So what you want to first understand is why whomever that individual is behaving in the way that they are behaving. And the one way to do it is just to have conversations first. You might want to, approach it with a conversation. Say, hey, XYZ person, like I noticed XYZ in a friendly type conversation. I'm just trying to understand this so that I can know how best to approach conversations like this with you, or how best to understand this. Or you can even ask questions from their colleagues, like I did for the product designer, to understand their characteristic traits, to know if this person is acting like this because they are within our team. Maybe they feel intimidated by the profile of people within the team. I imagine myself sitting in a team with Shola Akinlade or Benga Agbola or Inyaboyeji or maybe Tayo Viosu or some of these top, or Dwayne, some of these top guys that we know in tech who are high flyers. If I sit in a room with them right now, I'm going to be intimidated, and I can react in different ways. So I could I could lie about so many things just to make myself look cool. So I could say, oh, I went to Harvard and do. I might not be a liar on a normal day, but because I'm just intimidated, or maybe somebody says something, I just get pissed and react to it, just because I want to show, that just because I want to show that, oh, I'm also assertive. If they take their time to understand that, oh, I'm usually not like that, it could just reflect. But in instances where, this person is just a problematic person, what you want to do is escalate it to whomever is in charge of that team. And if it's a self-managed team, you want to call a meeting of the team to say, hey, this thing is going to slow down progress here. You highlight why this is problematic. And you figure out if that person can work in isolation and still achieve a team result, or if that person needs to be booted out of the team entirely. That's the reason why people are fired. There are instances where you can't work with someone, there's nothing you can do. But you have to be sure that you have done everything within your own power, and it is not you or people within the team or the team dynamics that is allowing for stuff like that to happen. There's a lot that I think we can discuss on team dynamics, but I think that what I want you to take out of this, because time is really not on our side, but what I want you to take out of this is, one, you cannot escape teamwork. So if you think that you're the kind of person who you are a high flyer, function on your own, you probably won't be able to achieve the optimal result or the optimal potential that you have. Two is that teamwork starts from individual work. So you want to do a lot of individual work from yourself. You want to understand the kind of person that you are. You want to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your skills that you possess are, and be truthful to yourself in understanding this. Your personality, are you extroverted? Do you think are you logical? Do you work with your feelings? Are you emotional? Stuff like that you want to understand, so that by the time you go into a team, you go from a place of self-awareness. I also want you to take away the stages of this team development, so that in instances where you find yourself at a particular stage, you don't just feel like the team is not working. You just understand that, oh, the team has to go through this thing before we get to the eventual result. And then the final thing I want to take away is that, there are instances where the group dynamics of a team affect how individuals produce results. And you want to first understand whether it is the group dynamics that is affecting individuals before you think about booting such an individual or providing an extra space for them. Finally, on collaboration, take your time to understand individual differences and similarities and exploit those to be able to achieve whatever results that you want to achieve as a team. It's 5 o'clock. I know that there are a lot of questions that you may have, and then we'll run out of time. I will package, like I mentioned, the slides. I would also share my email address and my Twitter handle. Those are the 2 places where I'm most active. So you can find me anywhere there if you have like extra questions. I don't mind. I'm always reachable. So you can ask me questions. I'm always willing to help. That's what I have for you guys today. Thank you. If you have questions, please let me have them.
Thank you, sir.
Obianuju or
Hi everyone. Does everyone have any questions? Okay, let me just start with my own question. So while you're figuring out, you're trying to understand the personality, usually, sorry, can everyone hear me? So usually, if you're working with deadlines, you have a timeline you want to meet, and in trying to understand this person, it just slows down work, and you need to keep things moving. How do you like handle that? So that's one question. And then what if is a team?
So can you repeat that question again? I lost you.
Okay, so like why you're trying to, I think is why you're trying to understand why people, like why a team member is behaving the way they are behaving. I personally, I feel like, oh, that would take time, especially if you are working on a deadline and this person is just being very difficult. There are some people that they are naturally very difficult, and you're trying to understand them, you're trying to get through to them, and it's like the more you try to come close, they just put a wall of Jericho up, and then you can't get through to them. So while you're trying to, personally, I feel like it's, especially when you're working with a timeline, it gets for me, I feel like, oh, this person, you should escalate the behavior of this person to the person who formed the team, so that that person can be removed. But instead of doing that, what other ways can, do you suggest we can deal with someone that is just being very difficult, basically?
Okay, yeah. Like I mentioned initially, you would always find them along the way. First, what you need to ask yourself is, can we achieve this team result, this desired goal, without input from this person? Because there will be instances where sometimes our own pride is how we approach issues from a place of pride. We think that we're solving an issue. We say, oh, this person is hard to work with. This person is so difficult. And then you just kick the person away, or you report the person or whatnot, and you realize that the team cannot really function without the person. The person has been carrying the team in the first place. So you want to first be sure that whatever skills that the person possesses is not too critical to the desired result. If it is critical, right, you want to try and understand the person. Like I mentioned, you want to have conversations with the person to understand why they are going, because like nobody really, I mean, I'm a very optimistic person. I believe that people are good in principle. So nobody really is bad per se. Because nobody is bad, you can't just dismiss outright the possibility of reaching out to someone. So you want to have conversations with them, especially when it's in a professional setting, because they have like a professional duty to you to be accountable to you, except the person is your boss or something. So you want to have like conversations with them to understand why whatever it is that they are doing is like that. But in instances where they've just refused to change, this person just wants to be hard and difficult, and this person's skill is not too critical to the results. Honestly, there's really nothing you can do. Take it up with the management, take it up with whatever. If it is a self-managed team, come together and ostracize whomever it is, because it's going to affect the team results. But where it is critical, you want to give them space to be able to work alone. Give them all the resources that they need so that they can still achieve their results, and then you can take that back. Like I mentioned, one of the things that I failed to mention is type of teams, right? The best kind of teams are, I've forgotten the name of what they're called now. I can't remember, but the best kind of teams are the teams that are totally interdependent in input. So where all of you give the same amount of energy to something to achieve a particular result, all of you are doing the same thing. So when you think about like a group of students, for instance, who come together to write a paper, and all of them work together on each paragraph, each section. Everybody's sharing ideas. I'm asking you questions. That's the best kind of team, right? Where everybody's having input. But that's not the only type of team that we can have. We also have teams that are sequential, like I mentioned, like in a construction company, where somebody does one part of the work, hands it over to somebody else to continue. That person uses the foundation that and built on top of it, and then hands it over to somebody else. You can structure your team like that, such that you can allow for the person to do their own part of the work and give it to you, or make their own part of the contribution, and then the rest of the team can carry on from there. Or you can structure in such a way that every individual can go and work on one portion of whatever that goal is, and then come back. you don't really have to follow a particular format. But in instances where, you know, you've tried all these things, you try to structure your team in different ways, you look at personalities, you've had conversations, they really, you're not God. You can't do everything. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you. So I also wanted to ask, in a situation where you are in a team with a lot of high flyers, and then you are an amateur, you know, and you don't want to be that person that, okay, you don't want to, like they say, farms with anyone, you also want to, okay, show that you know what you're doing. So how do you do that without being all over the place? Should you just be the kind of person that, okay, you're just listening, you are just without even being subservient? Because there are some times where you feel like, oh, because I'm in a team where everybody's good, everybody's a high flyer, and I'm just like an amateur, joining this team. I'm trying to show, okay, of course, that if I didn't have any skill, if I didn't, have any progress, I won't be in this team at all. How do I also showcase, okay, this is what I can do without being subservient, without being all over the place?
Okay,
basically.
so I understand what you're saying. And the first thing is, there are a few things there that you shared that I think that fundamentally I disagree with. The first is, not wanting to farms. If you're in a team of high flyers that are flying higher than you, I would probably suggest that you do everything within your power to farms. I would probably suggest. And the reason is, you cannot show what you don't have. It's only what you have that you can show. I cannot go into a room with Tony Elumelu and be performing. He's the CEO of UBA for a reason. Like, he's a seasoned entrepreneur for a reason. I've tried to start my own business. The first time I tried to start my own business, I failed. I have, thankfully, by God's grace, I've been able to succeed at it, like, after multiple tries. But the point is, I cannot go into a room with a Tony Elumelu and be forming like, oh, my own small business that has not been able to raise any amount of money. Is now going to give me the liberty to, it's best for me to just listen. So try farms, and that's the first thing I agree with. The second thing is the idea that I disagree with that. The second thing is that idea of being subservient. You may want to reassess how you think about working within a team. I think that everybody in a team should first be subservient, actually. That is what you are called for, to serve everybody within the team because of a particular goal that you're going to achieve. Within the current team that I work on right now, if somebody on my team texts me today about something that is not within my purview, what I want to do is, if I have the time, I look at my calendar and say, oh, I have the bandwidth for this. I want to go and serve you, because at the end of the day, I know that I can't do everything. There'll be moments when I'm going to need to rely on you. That's how a team works, interdependent. I know you probably mean it in a different way, but for the purpose of those who are listening, I just wanted to correct how that could have come across. Now, in a team like that, I think that, like I mentioned, you can only show what you have. So you want to, because of course you also want to be respected, which I think is where you're going with this. You want to take your time by yourself to learn as much as is required for you to be able to make contributions. So if you know what you're supposed to be doing with that team, within that team, you know what that team is there set up for. Another thing that I didn't mention that I currently do is I'm part of the team that set up Sporting Lagos. Sporting Lagos is a new football club in Lagos here. We're trying to revolutionize how football is played on the African continent. You can Google it. It was founded by the CEO and founder of Paystack, that is Shola Akinlade, and we're doing things sort of differently. I wanted to bring something out of this. That's why I mentioned that. Now, in that team, in the Sporting Lagos team, the people in the team are high flyers, super high flyers. These are guys that, if you Google, it's public information. So, we're thinking Godwin Enaina. Godwin Enaina is a seasoned OAP, one of the most successful sports journalists in Africa, and he was also the technical director for MFM, taking them from the bottom league all the way to the MPFL, where they're currently playing. So he's currently technical director within the team. There's Ekene was former chief of staff at Paystack. Very high flyer, somebody who has led like a lot of startups to get VC funding. There's Fola Olatunji David, former leader of Google Accelerator program in California. So these are high flyer, and of course there's Shola, there's Uzo, guys who are I mean, I can't even come close. I was fortunate to be part of that team. What I wanted to do first was to understand what is this thing supposed to do? And immediately I understood that, okay, we're supposed to like create like a new game day experience. I thought within my own current capacity, how can I contribute? What do I think that I have that I'm the strongest at? Once I figured that out, whenever contributions were then being made, I wait for opportunities for where I have the strongest contribution to make. I've already done my research, I already understand, I've already structured everything I have to do. So that by the time I want to just make the contribution, I'm not just all over the place, it's structured. Like, oh, I'm supposed to do XYZ. I want us to get sponsorship from XYZ people. I've already gone on to meet with the key stakeholders within that company. I've already had conversations with them, send them our decks, I've already worked to a certain level. So I just come to the meeting with high level information that is useful as output and just contribute that. That way they see value. Although most of the time I end up listening because these guys are very smart, but that's not a problem because at the end of the day, whatever little contributions I can make in that particular team, I make it. So that's how I will respond to you. Take your time to learn as much as possible. Structure whatever contributions you want to make in form of results, so that by the time you're making those contributions, people see that, okay, this person is contributing meaningfully, and then they can take you more seriously. You can then, increase your value as time goes on, and then maybe after a short period of time, you also be qualified as a high flyer. So that's how I respond. I think that was a little too long, but yeah.